One testament to SRCD's interdisciplinary character is the requirement that every third president come from a field outside of developmental psychology, an affirmative action policy that has brought me before you tonight. I am pleased to note that I am not the first economist to be president of SRCD. That honor goes to Lawrence Frank, who served between 1944 and 1945. Frank's biography is actually on page 15 of the program, but don't look at it now. Frank headed the Laura Spelman Rockefeller Memorial Foundation and used that position to fund 9 child welfare research institutes in major universities in both the United States and Canada. His publications include Nature and Human Nature and the 1953 classic, Babies or Puppies, Puppies or Babies. I'm serious. But the vast majority of SRCD members are developmental psychologists. As a frequent reviewer of proposals and manuscripts submitted by developmental psychologists, I find myself repeatedly urging authors to incorporate even the simplest insights from the models and methods of economists and sociologists. Enough of this disciplinary balkanization. I'd like to spend the rest of my remaining minutes making the case for breadth, for combining insights from different disciplines and methods in new and imaginative ways. Referring to evolution, the French biologist and Nobel laureate François Jacob observed that to create is to recombine. So it can be with the social, behavioral, and biomedical sciences. Let me be clear that by breadth, I mean true integration of disciplines at the level of concepts, assumptions, theories, methods, and interpretations. In a wonderful essay on interdisciplinary scholarship, Aletha Houston invokes the metaphor of young children's peer interactions. The first is parallel play, side by side, but essentially independent activities, with the research example being a conference in which scholars from different disciplines present papers on a common general topic. Associative play consists of independent activities using a common set of materials, with children pursuing their own projects in sandboxes, or in research, mixed method studies if the research teams using different methods are not working closely with one another. Cooperative play involves truly interdependent interactions. Here, Aletha uses the example of children working together to build one structure, with each child placing blocks on those added by others. In the case of research, this conception of breadth means interactions among disciplines in which each builds on and is responsive to the others. I have found that drawing together disparate ideas about development and methods from different research traditions can be time-consuming and frustrating, but also deeply rewarded, personally and perhaps also for the promotion of science, policy, and practice. I will make my case for breadth using examples from research on the effects of poverty on children's development. I will first argue that poverty research needs a genuine lifespan perspective, beginning in utero and stretching well into adulthood, and it needs to embrace early biology as a key dimension. I will then show that the macroeconomic dimension of poverty and affluence, in other words, income inequality, appears to be highly consequential for child development. I look next at innovative methods of estimating causal impacts of income policies on child outcomes. All of these issues are best addressed through interdisciplinary collaboration. I close with some thoughts about how we might promote this kind of cooperative play. Another favorite New Yorker cartoon is about humble beginnings. But only in the New Yorker could humble be depicted with 2 well-to-do parents in a nice apartment. Truly humble beginnings for nearly a quarter of America's children means family income below the poverty line, currently around $17,000 for a family of 3. The standard developmental model of family poverty posits 2 important ways in which growing up poor hurts children. First is the income pathway, in which higher parents can buy more books, horizon-broadening travel, higher quality childcare, better schools, safer neighborhoods than their poor counterparts. Second is the maternal stress pathway, which emphasizes how the day-to-day stresses of poverty can compromise parents' mental health and the quality of interactions with their children. Taken together, these 2 pathways are thought to translate poverty into lower achievement and worse behavior when poor children enter school, and this may overwhelm compensatory efforts of schools to level the playing field by the time these children transition from adolescence into adulthood. Before commenting on the shortcomings of this model, let me praise its utility and durability. Bonnie McLeod's work on the parental stress pathway has helped stimulate voluminous research on the consequences for children of maternal depression and harsh parenting. The 1997 book, Consequences of Growing Up Poor, which Jeannie Brooks Gunn and I edited, provided considerable support for the What Money Can Buy pathway, and also pointed to early childhood as being a particularly sensitive period for impacts of economic deprivation on child well-being. To gauge the size of income effects, let's use the yardstick of a $3,000 increase in annual income, which is well within the scope of the U.S. income support policies. After controlling for differences in an extensive set of parent characteristics and for income in later childhood stages, Duncan, Brooks Gunn, and colleagues showed that for children living in low-income families, a $3,000 increase in annual income between birth and age 5 was associated with a highly significant 0.8 of a year increase in completed schooling. In contrast, the estimated effects of increases in income during middle childhood and adolescence were smaller and not statistically significant. 0.8 of a year of additional schooling is important since that effect size has been found to lead on average to tens of thousands of dollars in higher career earnings, less unemployment, and better mental health and physical health. These estimates by Duncan, Brooks Gunn, and colleagues used 20 years of data from the Panel Study of Income Dynamics project. Data collected on the children in the study have continued. If we select children born into the study in its early years, 1968 to 1975, we can now estimate associations between poverty as early as the prenatal year and a host of adult outcomes measured as late as age 37. My collaboration with Ariel Khalil and Kathleen Zoll-Guest produced a 2010 paper in Child Development with estimates of these linkages. We found that for low-income children, a $3,000 increase in annual income between the prenatal year and age 5 was associated with a 17% gain in earnings between ages 25 and 37. If sustained throughout an individual's career, this would translate into nearly $200,000 higher career earnings. As with completed schooling, income later in childhood and adolescence appeared to be far less important than early income. These links between poverty early in childhood and earnings 3 decades later are truly remarkable. Although many of you may find eventual labor market success to be a boring outcome for children, it provides obvious benefits to workers and their families. And for economists and policymakers, it signals the worker productivity that fuels a nation's prosperity. Although curiously undervalued in developmental psychology, replication is a staple of most scientific disciplines. Working with a Norwegian colleague, Kjetil Telle, Ariel, Kathleen, and I attempted to replicate and extend our poverty results using administrative data gathered on the entire Norwegian population. If we take the same cohorts as in our US analysis, children born between 1968 and 1975, the Norwegian data registers provide us with an impressive 496,000 observations. And if we estimate the identical models of adult earnings as a function of income in different childhood stages plus demographic controls, we again find the strongest associations for early income, although the sizes of the effects are a little less than half those found with US data. The much larger Norwegian sample sizes lend the statistical power to do something we cannot do with the US data, break down stage-specific income effects even more precisely. Moreover, we were also able to estimate income effects using a stronger method of relating sibling differences in earnings to sibling differences in stage-specific childhood income. We found that economic conditions in the very earliest years of life, the prenatal year and birth year, seem to matter the most for earnings. What's behind these associations? Testing the What Money Can Buy and parental stress pathways are not possible with either the PSID or Norwegian data. But the PSID does enable us to expand the range of adult outcomes to look for clues regarding process.